If you wanted Putin-level protection, you'd need a 50,000-man army, billions of dollars, and zero trust in humanity. Because staying in power for 25 years, while treating a nation's treasury like your personal wallet, doesn't make you safe. It makes you the biggest target on Earth. But here's the thing about Putin. He never backs down. So he built the most ruthless security operation ever created. When you've started wars, betrayed presidents, and made more enemies than Donald Trump, you do whatever it takes to keep yourself safe. And today, we're pulling back the curtain on the security operation behind the billionaire lifestyle of Vladimir Putin. First, let's start with the one time his trusted insider decided Putin's throne should be his. On June 24, 2023, Putin experienced the most insane security breach of the decade. And for some reason, it got to him. A man he'd trusted for years, Yevgeny Prigozhin, leader of the Wagner Group, the private army that fought for Russia in Ukraine, suddenly turned his guns around. That morning, his forces stormed a Russian military headquarters in Rostov-on-Don. By afternoon, they were racing toward Moscow. For a few terrifying hours, Putin's entire wall of protection just froze. No one moved. The agencies built to keep him safe, the FSB, the military, even the National Guard, didn't stop Wagner's advance. It was the closest thing Russia had seen to a civil war in 30 years, and it came from inside his own circle. The billionaire he once called a friend had become his most dangerous enemy. But before the world could see him bleed, Putin's security machine snapped back. In a split second, Prigozhin's troops halted before Moscow after a call came through. Within hours, the rebellion vanished. No firefight, no coup, no arrest. It was like the uprising had been erased in real time. Putin made a press release, and that was the message. No one challenges Putin and lives to tell the story. Because even when the threat comes from inside the house, his system knows how to bury it before it touches him. In a moment, we will get into why this even happened. But first, let's see what might be the most paranoid security system money can buy, built by arguably the richest leader alive. And hey, if you love seeing how power actually protects itself, hit that subscribe button. You're gonna want to see this. You can love him or you can hate him, but you can't ignore Vladimir Putin. This president is known for making insane moves that leave the world speechless. From playing piano on state visits, to flexing on hockey players, befriending Trump, and of course, starting a war in Ukraine. But here's what you need to understand. Putin isn't some wannabe dictator who stumbled into power. This guy is about that life. Long before his presidency, he joined and climbed the ranks of the KGB, the Soviet-era intelligence machine that made the CIA look soft. The KGB was the Cold War's most feared weapon, a spy network so ruthless that entire governments collapsed under its watch. And Putin? He rose to the rank of lieutenant colonel, where he learned every dirty trick they had. So when it came time to build his own security, he didn't just hire bodyguards. He built an army of ghosts. Because when you've lived your whole career surrounded by secrets, betrayal, and assassins in suits, you don't hire bodyguards. You build an empire of protection. Putin's personal security is officially called the Federal Protective Service, or the FSO. But buried inside that agency is his real shield, the Presidential Security Service, known as the SBP. These are not just guards. They are human fortresses, hand-picked, battle-tested, and psychologically dissected before they ever get close to him. Most are recruited from the military or elite sports backgrounds. They go through polygraphs, loyalty tests, and brutal physical evaluations. Only about 30 to 40 officers make it into the core bodyguard detail. All male, mostly in their 30s, and largely recruited from outside Moscow to avoid local connections that could compromise loyalty. These men don't just guard Putin during public appearances. They live in constant proximity to him, rotating on round-the-clock duty, securing his residences, and protecting every single movement he makes. If you see Putin in a photo or video, they're there, even if you can't spot them. But it gets deeper. Officers typically come through the FSO Academy or related security services. Many are former soldiers or special forces operatives with advanced qualifications. Some even graduated from elite institutions like MGIMO or military academies. Visible traits are mandated: specific height requirements, short hair, peak physical condition. And it's not just bodyguards. Putin travels with an entire support ecosystem: communications specialists, engineers, medics, food testers, even firefighters. Former FSO officer Gleb Karakulov described it as a virtual state. that moves with the president, a mobile fortress that ensures Putin is never without total control. This is the inner ring, the guys who eat, sleep, and breathe Putin's survival, and they do it like their lives depend on it, because they actually do. It sounds obvious now, but give it a minute. You'll understand exactly what I mean. Now, you might be wondering, if Putin's security is this tight, how did the Wagner boss, Yevgeny Prigozhin, even make a move on him? Good question. Because that moment wasn't just shocking. It exposed what might be Putin's biggest mistake yet. Let me explain. You see, Yevgeny Prigozhin only got that far because of Putin's secret game with his forces. Putin allows them to go against each other to win his favor. It's a brutal, calculated strategy that's kept him in power for over 2 decades. Now here's how it worked. When Putin took office, he knew the only way to survive was to control everyone who could possibly remove him. So he pulled Russia's thousands of spies, police officers, and soldiers onto his side. The FSB, Russia's version of the old KGB, became his personal weapon. He expanded its power, gave it the authority to arrest anyone, and used it to crush oligarchs who didn't bow down and destroy rival politicians who got too ambitious. But here's the genius part. Putin didn't just build one security force. He built several, and then made them compete. The FSB, the SVR Foreign Intelligence, the military, the National Guard, they all got overlapping responsibilities. They all spy in foreign countries. They all handle internal security. And most importantly, they all spy on each other. FSB agents watch the military. Other FSB agents watch those FSB agents. It's a paranoid web where no one trusts anyone, and everyone's trying to prove they're the most loyal. Putin purges these agencies constantly. If someone gets too powerful, too ambitious, or too comfortable, they're gone. Replaced with someone weaker, someone more obedient, even his closest allies aren't safe. The game is simple. Keep them fighting each other so they never team up against him. And for years, it worked perfectly. Until Putin made the decision to invade Ukraine. The war didn't go as planned. The Russian military failed to capture Kiev. Soldiers were dying by the thousands. Equipment was outdated. Leadership was incompetent. So Putin did what he always does. He purged. FSB leaders were arrested for bad intelligence. Over 100 National Guard members were fired, including the second-in-command. Military generals were replaced like broken toys. But one man saw this chaos as an opportunity. Yevgeny Prigozhin. Prigozhin wasn't a general or a spy. He was an ex-convict turned businessman who made his fortune catering meals for the Kremlin. Putin liked him, saw something useful in his criminal background, his willingness to do whatever it takes. And that was how Putin made the biggest mistake of his reign. The Mancho president gave Prigozhin a surprising toy. The Wagner Group, a private militia that operated outside Russian law. Wagner fought alongside the military in Ukraine, Syria, and across Africa. And while Russia's regular army was failing in Ukraine, Prigozhin's men were winning. He recruited convicts straight from Russian prisons, promised them freedom if they survived. Then he threw them at the front lines in brutal, bloody battles. Tens of thousands of Wagner fighters were killed or wounded. But in May 2023, they captured the Ukrainian town of Bakhmut, a victory Putin desperately needed. Suddenly, Prigozhin wasn't just Putin's useful criminal anymore. He was a hero. He was elevated into Putin's inner circle, given more resources, more attention. And that's when he started talking. Prigozhin began publicly trashing Russia's military leaders on social media. He called them cowards, accused them of incompetence, and blamed them for getting Russian soldiers killed. Things no one else in Russia could say and survive. But Putin didn't stop him. Because the feud was useful, it played right into Putin's strategy. Let them fight, let them compete, use one to control the other. Except this time, Putin miscalculated. Russia's military leaders got tired of being humiliated. So in June 2023, they struck back. They announced that Wagner's troops would be absorbed into the regular military, essentially cutting Prigozhin off from his power, his wealth, and his direct line to Putin. Prigozhin had 2 choices: accept defeat or fight back. On June 23, 2023, he chose war. And he took it too far that Putin was shocked. And if you're wondering whether the Wagner boss actually got away with that coup attempt, yeah, Putin let him walk. No arrest, no trial, just freedom. But 2 months later, his private jet exploded mid-air. Even President Biden was like, "Bro, Knew not to mess with Putin. You probably have heard that there's no such thing as a former KGB agent, because Putin is still as brutal as he was working for the KGB. Probably worse. Now, you should know that Putin is no amateur when it comes to his own safety. You can tell from the way he parades shirtless on fishing trips, spars in judo, and handles a sniper rifle like it's second nature. The man exudes confidence and control. Rumors have long circulated that he uses body doubles to protect himself, though he insists he turned down the idea. But when journalists asked if he's ever faced assassination attempts, he didn't deny it. At least 5 have been reported, involving everything from car bombs to sniper attacks. Yet every time, he walked away untouched. His secret? A personal security force so powerful, it operates like a state within a state. Putin's personal guards have more authority than most ministries. They can wiretap phones, raid homes, detain citizens, and conduct surveillance anywhere in Russia. Their budget runs into the billions, and their loyalty isn't to the people, it's to one man. And when it comes to protecting him, they are everywhere. The men in dark suits and earpieces are the visible layer, but the real protection hides in plain sight. Agents disguised as journalists, waiters, or even random bystanders. They've been caught in viral moments too, like when Conor McGregor placed a hand on Putin's shoulder and was instantly warned off by a security operative. Or that time in Paris when Putin went to use the bathroom, and 6 bodyguards followed him inside. That's how far they go. Long before Putin arrives anywhere, the FSO has already been there, scanning rooftops, mapping exits, and rehearsing every possible escape. On the day of the event, radio jammers block remote detonations, snipers take rooftop positions, and 4 invisible rings of security close around him. The first ring, his personal guards, never leave his side. The second blends into the crowd. The third locks down the perimeter, and the fourth, hidden overwatch, armed and waiting. Each agent carries concealed firearms, bulletproof gear, and even rumored shield devices disguised as briefcases or umbrellas. Fluent in multiple languages, they can operate anywhere, from Moscow's Red Square to the mysterious $1.4 billion Putin Palace by the Black Sea. Speaking about Putin's palace, in a moment I'll reveal a secret uncovered just months ago. One that explains why Putin guards a certain palace like a war zone. It's tied to something far more personal, a family secret. But first, let's break down the tactics, the transport, the weapons, and the strange psychology that makes his security team almost superhuman. Imagine being Putin, a life built on secrets so big they could topple nations. You'd need men who'd die for you to ever close your eyes. Because when you make enemies in every corner of the planet, safety stops being a luxury. It becomes an obsession. And you should know by now that this obsession is run by 2 shadow agencies: the Federal Protective Service, FSO, and the Presidential Security Service, SBP. And these agencies operate like one living body, reacting to any threat before it gets close. You see, these men don't just protect Putin. They anticipate his danger. Every move, every visit, every breath he takes is calculated down to the second. When Putin travels, his reach extends far beyond Russia's borders. His teams link up with foreign intelligence, sweeping entire cities before his arrival. They inspect hotels, analyze traffic routes, and even check the rooftops of nearby buildings for snipers. By the time he lands, the entire area has already been converted into a moving fortress. And then there's the food. Putin doesn't touch a single meal until it's been tested. Every bite, every drink. It's an old-school method straight from the playbook of kings and dictators. But it tells you one thing: he trusts no one, not even his own chef. In 2002, FSO agents foiled a plot in Azerbaijan. An Iraqi national tied to extremist groups was caught before he could deliver explosives meant for Putin's convoy. That same year, another plan was discovered: 40 kilograms of explosives hidden along his usual travel route. Within an hour, they vanished, and his route changed instantly. A decade later, another would-be assassin was captured in Ukraine. Adam Osmayev, a Chechen tied to Western networks. He confessed on Russian TV, though many suspected the confession wasn't voluntary. Still, he never got close. The FSO and SBP aren't just bodyguards. They're gatekeepers of the regime, crushing protests, silencing opposition, and protecting not just Putin's life, but the entire power structure built around him. Because in Putin's Russia, guarding the man means guarding the throne and its secrets. So hit the subscribe button as we talk about secrets. Vladimir Putin has a strange secret buried deep in the Russian wilderness, on the quiet shores of Lake Valdai, tucked somewhere between Moscow and St. Petersburg. Now, on paper, it looks like just another one of his private estates, although a bit sentimental cause that's where Barack Obama met him on his visit to Russia. But look closer. This place has its own train station. You'll spot housing blocks, hangars, roads, and even anti-aircraft missile systems guarding the perimeter. Yeah, missile systems. Around a lake. But here's where it gets weird. In the middle of all that military-grade protection, there's a children's playground. Yes, you heard that right. Putin officially has 2 daughters, Maria Vorontsova and Katerina Tikhonova. Both women are now in their late 30s and early 40s, living under layers of secrecy thicker than the Kremlin walls. Maria's a pediatric endocrinologist tied to medical projects in Russia, while Katerina, once an acrobatic dancer, now runs a research foundation connected to Moscow State University. And that's it, at least officially. No mention of any other kids. But what most people don't imagine is this. Recently, investigators uncovered something Putin has kept from the world for nearly a decade. 2 secret sons with former Olympic gymnast Alina Kabaeva, long rumored to be his girlfriend. The US even froze her assets at some point. It was well known. Now, here's where it gets crazy. According to Russian investigative journalist Ilya Rojdestvensky, the boys were born in Switzerland in 2015 and 2019 at an elite private clinic in Lugano, attended by a Russian gynecologist who flew in just for the births. Flight records, leaked bank transfers, and insider accounts all line up. And guess where the boys live now? Inside that Lake Valdai fortress, the one with anti-aircraft systems, private roads, and staff who have to quarantine for 3 weeks before seeing the family. Every car is scanned, every person vetted, and anyone who enters doesn't talk. Because behind those walls, hidden in the forest, are the 2 children the Kremlin refuses to acknowledge, the sons of Vladimir Putin. One thing's for sure, Putin doesn't rely on luck once he leaves the luxury of Lake Valdai. He's surrounded by an entire network of armored cars, private jets, secret trains, and even underground bunkers, all run by the elite security force that keeps him untouchable. In 2018, Putin rolled out his new ride, the Russian-made Oris Cortege, a limousine built like a tank but dressed like a luxury car. It weighs nearly 6 tons, powered by a V12 engine, bulletproof from every angle, bomb-resistant underneath, and sealed against chemical or biological attacks. Inside, pure opulence, leather, gold trims, and comfort built for a czar. Developing the fleet reportedly cost close to $200 million, and only a handful are made each year. Putin's motorcade isn't just cars, it's a moving army. Armored SUVs, decoy limos, and support trucks form a convoy that can withstand gunfire and explosions. Even his so-called civilian versions are being marketed, a clever way for the Kremlin to make back some cash while flaunting its engineering might. Putin flies in a modified Ilyushin Il-96, known as the Flying Kremlin, which is a $500 million fortress in the sky. It's loaded with encrypted communication systems, missile countermeasures, and a direct link to Russia's nuclear command network. Inside, the design is lavish. Birchwood panels, private suites, and briefing rooms that look more like luxury offices than aircraft cabins. It's said the jet can keep flying even if 2 engines fail. Officially, it's a plane. In reality, it's a mobile command post that lets Putin run a war from 30,000 feet. But lately, Putin has gone back to Soviet-style secrecy. Instead of flying, he often travels by armored train, a bulletproof, missile-protected locomotive that moves under total silence. It runs on a private rail network invisible on public maps, with secret stations built near his residences in Moscow, Sochi, and Valdai. These stations are fenced, surveilled, and guarded round the clock. The train itself looks like a regular passenger train, but carries reinforced cars, hidden antennas, and extra engines for emergencies. It runs on no fixed schedule, so foreign intelligence can't track him. Entire sections of track were built just for him, a billion-dollar ghost network that moves the president without anyone knowing where he's headed. And that's how Putin stays alive. A 50,000-man army, armored trains, secret bunkers, hidden suns, and a security force that operates like a government within a government. And if this video blew your mind, Drop a comment below telling me which billionaire or world leader you want me to expose next. Because trust me, Putin's not the only one hiding secrets. I'll see you in the next one.